Hello, everybody. This is Gina Cavalier. This is the Liberated Healer podcast. And today we have Ismael Perez. He is a cosmic ambassador. He represents the intergalactic alliance known as the Covenant of Palador, a cosmic treaty that was initiated by the forces of light in the former dimensions to protect and guard the Earth from the Draco forces. So he's very expansive in everything that he talks about. We're going to talk about all kinds of different areas. So stick with us and welcome, Ismael. So great to have you on the show today.
Thank you, Gina. It's a pleasure to be here with you. Thank you for having me here.
Could you just give a little bit of history of kind of where to find you? Where is your, how to explain your expertise and what your main focus usually is, so people have some foundation?
Sure. So, a little bit about myself. I am what you consider an awakened starseed with full memories of all my different selves, different various incarnations from different timelines. As a kid, I was a visionary. I had access to memories. I knew of my mission. I was also very telepathic, and I knew that there was something different about this density. I knew this realm just was off. It just wasn't the same anymore. But I also knew that I was here and that I was part of a team with many others who took the call to volunteer that are also here. And so I, at the age of 16, I had a thirst for knowledge. I started reading everything from Plato's Republic to Pythagorean theorem to 18th century philosophy. To political theory. I mean, I got into everything, metaphysics, philosophy. And it wasn't until I stumbled upon a book called The Secret Societies that I realized that, there is a whole new different world that is completely clandestine from the rest of society that nobody knows about. And when I looked further into the realm of secret societies and the secret knowledge, I came to understand that the movers and shakers were not the people that we entrusted in power. In fact, those have always been puppets, representatives. I came to understand that this whole world was being directed and influenced by these secret societies, whether good or bad. And then on top of that, I came to discover that these secret societies, in turn, which are structured in pyramidal shapes, at the highest level, you have what we call the Council of Sorcerers. So, in terms of the Luciferian Brotherhood, which is associated around the direct lineage of Babylon, Leviathan, the serpent seed, what they call. We have a council of sorcerers, black magicians, necromancers, who are literally in communication with fallen entities. Now, some people might wonder, like, who are these fallen entities? Well, these fallen entities are the lower fourth dimensional entities of the astral realm. They vary. The main ones are the reptilians. So I did a correspondence that the demons of the Bible are no other than the draconians. Slit eyes, scaly skin, down to the teeth. Some of them have tails, some of them have wings. Serpent people. So I came to discover that those were the ones that have been in control of our world, and they have been communicating their agenda, or at least influencing the sorcerers, because the sorcerers always do their rituals to invoke their presence and their guidance. And they were also invoking the presence of certain grays and zetas that were aligned with the reptilians, commonly known as the negative alien collective. And then on the other hand, I also came to discover that the opposition of the Leviathan race, which is the serpent genealogy of the Cabal families, I came to discover that there was also a different opposite and competitive bloodline that was associated with the guardians, the seraphim, the lineage of Michael, the lineage of the original angels that were dispatched to the earth to, again, counteract the fallen ones. And the original secret societies, or what we call the benevolent secret societies, which today are no other than the Earth alliances. They are the pinnacle of that. Of course, they have existed for thousands of years. They were around even before the fall of Atlantis. They actually could trace their lineage all the way back to Lemuria, where they were first established as the priesthood of Melchizedek, the Council of Or, the Council of Mu. And they do have also a bloodline association, and that is related to the descendants of the seraphim, the descendants of the of the angelics on the earth. So they also have a council of wizards. Now, they're not called sorcerers, they're called the Council of Wizards. And they are similar to Gandalf from Lord of the Rings, um, that oversee the development of Earth. Some of them call them ascended beings. They do operate from the seventh dimension, but they could also materialize physical form in the 3D, in terms of interacting with the Earth Alliance. And they also work with benevolent ETs, which ironically in the Bible are known as the angels. And the angels are not reptilian, they are not grays, they are actually humanoids. And what I mean by that is that the benevolent ETs, the positive races, are mostly of our, they share a common ancestry. In fact, we humans on the earth are part of that long lineage of celestial descent. So we do belong to the angelic kingdom, by the way. We don't come from apes. And there is hard-based evidence for those that haven't done the research. We do live in a matrix where everything was inverted. So
Yeah.
in order to break out of the program, you come to understand that humans on the earth are the final pinnacle of the celestial races, of the celestial Christed angelic beings in physical form, light beings in physical form. And I come to discover that the forces of light have always been here, counteracting every attempt by the forces of darkness. And so they are the ones that are influencing the Council of Wizards, or they're working together with the Council of Wizards. We have, the Elohim, which stem from the Syrian High Council, which is the governing body of our local universe. That's where the Office of the Christ, the Covenant of Palador, the Seal of Palador, the interdimensional alliance of free worlds, which comprises many, many universes. Over 200 billion universes are part of this interdimensional alliance. And so I came to understand that we are dealing with multiple dimensions, that we are experiencing reality in the lowest densities of them all, and that there is that 96% of the so-called missing reality is all filled with life forms operating on different vibrations or different dimensions or planes of reality. So I wrote my book. I wrote my book in an effort to explain the bigger picture, how what's going on in the earth is nothing more than a cosmic battle that's been going on for billions of years. Well, just alone in our galaxy, it's been going on for 600 million years. We call them the galactic wars, which, by the way, Star Wars, the writer of, George Lucas, had access to the Akashic records. There, just down to the T, the way he wrote Star Wars is the exact, almost carbon copy. He almost carbon copied the story of the Orion Wars, which were so similar down to the T. The Wars of Orion, because the galactic wars were fought. There were different battles that took place. The first one, of course, was in Lyra, then the Orion, then the War of the Pleiades, which led to the war of our solar system. Well, that's when the galactic wars reached our solar system. But the whole point is that beyond the galaxy, we've been fighting a war against artificial intelligence. That's the whole point. So at the highest, you could say, level of reality, the villain is the machine. And that's what I've come to discover. And that perfectly ties in with the agenda that they've been rolling out in the last 3 years, the attempt to transform, to convert humans from organic beings into machines through a gradual process of genetic changing, right? Through the mRNA and so on and so forth. But the whole point is, I fell deep into the rabbit hole and many, many years ago. And while people were still watching Ancient Aliens, learning about the Anunnaki, oh boy, learning about the little triangled 3R TR3Bs, what they call the rectangular spaceships, learning about Roswell, it goes way beyond that, guys. It goes way beyond that. And that's when I came to discover that Earth was at the center of a cosmic interdimensional warfare. And that what actually happens here during the times that we're living in is going to affect everything in the cosmos, because this is the final battle right here.
Absolutely. Oh, wow. Oh, bring that all in. Okay. So every single being on this planet is so important and vital and has within themselves just this immense power, that we, sometimes we think that we're just like these, like, I don't like to say this, but like a meat suit walking around. But reality is we're just inside. We have this soul spark that, can you explain a little bit about our individuated soul, and how vital and important it is, and how beautiful it is, and the lineage, and why, why I try to talk about this is I used to want to leave here so badly. I wanted to go home. And I used to always say, I want to go home. I want to go home. And a lot of that came into me is suicidality, because I did not feel like I belonged here. Through spirituality and self-love, I was able to heal that. And why I talk to people like you now is because now I know, gosh, this one thing I have is so beautiful and bright. And so could you talk a little bit about our individual, purpose, and how wonderful and beautiful it is?
Sure. So individuality, having self-awareness, is probably the greatest gift in all of creation. And that also ties in with the gift of free agency and having free will.
Mhm.
Every single being in the cosmos, not just here on the earth, every single soul is an expression of the one infinite creator. So we could look at the one infinite creator as the accumulation of all living entities. And I'm not just talking about humans and extraterrestrials, and I'm talking about planets, animals, elements, galaxies, the entire universe, combined or integrated as one cosmic soul, oversoul. That's how everything's interconnected. Now, the beauty of having individuality is that, or being part of everything, but yet also having our individual personality, our individual perspective on life, is that we could all be different and have our own likes, have our own understanding of things, and still live in a harmonious, cooperative way to make the whole a better place. And they go hand in hand, free agency, spirituality, because it is through our choices that we either reconnect back to the universal consciousness of everything that is, or we continue disconnecting from it, where we see everything as separated. And that's when the illusion comes in, and that's where the ego comes in. That's where the path to the dark side comes in. Once you start seeing yourself separated from everything else, you start taking into account, or you start pushing your own individual agenda at the expense of others, without considering, the other people, the other beings, of course. And that's where the fallen angels come into play. Yes, they had an opportunity to experience individuality, and they fell in love with their image. They wanted to become more than prime creator source. They wanted to become the creators. And in a sense, they fell from grace. They fell from that unity consciousness into separative consciousness. And that's what caused this whole experience of the descent. So everything does have a purpose in existence. Even the fallen, disconnected consciousness is known as the fallen angels. But the beauty of it all is that our individual awareness, our individual consciousness, is what is allowing us through how can I say it? By piercing through the veil, this illusion that everything seems separated. Spirituality is the idea of coming into terms that everything in existence is interconnected at a fundamental level, and that in essence we're all one. So the beauty of us being in these physical forms is that we get to be pretending like we're separated from everything, while remembering that we are part of everything at the same time. And that is true enlightenment. That is what many call in the spiritual community, illumination, samadhi. What the masters of the East called reaching a state of enlightenment, is understanding that even though we have our own individual unit of awareness, we're still part of the ocean. The drop could still be part of the ocean, while maintaining its individuality. And that's the beauty of living in harmony and understanding how everything's interconnected. So yeah, it is through free will, of course, that we make these decisions.
You're making me cry. I apologize. Woo! I'm overwhelmed by that explanation. Because I just, my whole effort of what I do every day is really to help bring people back into this. And that veil can be so heavy, that separateness, and that's where all the programming is coming in. This is where all the secret societies are coming in. all they want to do is really to program us and disconnect us from that everything that you just mentioned, correct?
Yeah, they want to prevent the in-breath of God, which is the ascension process. So for billions of years, we all started off as one cosmic consciousness, and through the process of involution with an IN, not EV, we started to separate. We started to fragmentalize, um, which is fine because that allows um, the overall consciousness to gain more understanding, more experience, so that it could expand further as a whole through us, through the individualized units of consciousness, through the drops of the ocean, right? Through the little drops of the ocean. So now they're trying to prevent the return of all the drops back to and merging with the universal awareness of everything that is. And that's what the dark forces have been trying to do. They don't want the ascension process to take place.
And there's a timeline kind of happening right now where that everybody's been talking really about, kind of pinpointing 2025 and why we're starting to see different larger societies start to have conflict, like religion or the political issues, or different countries. That's why it feels like it's all, also the disinformation platforms and the media, like there's this, like, all these little mini wars seem like they're all converging around this timeline. Is there a special timeline that just like it feels that way, or is there something really happening within
Oh
this?
no, we are engaged in interdimensional warfare with the Archon entities, the dark forces, who are trying so hard to prevent the Great Awakening first and foremost, and also ultimately prevent the ascension of the human race back into their original status as immortals before we fell into these limited physical forms. So they're trying everything in their power to make sure that there is no organic ascension. And that explains why they also are offering their alternative to the organic ascension through transhumanism, right? Which is the ultimate evil. So that's where we're at right now. We are at the crossroads. We are facing the same challenges and the same, you could say, decisions that many races in the cosmos have faced. And that explains why a lot of them are, trying to extract our genetics, because they're a dying species. That's what happens when you merge with technology. You become a dying species as a biological entity, and you go into the inorganic timeline. And then you lose your soul as a result of that. And that's why we on the earth, we are like, as the most important piece in this whole cosmic scenario, we have to get it right. We have to get as many people as possible on the organic ascending timeline, because that's the only way to do it. And that's why we're here. I believe that there are millions upon millions of volunteers down here, whether you call them starseeds, indigos, wanderers. Everybody has a role to play in this great awakening, in this organic ascension, because we are at war with the machine. Ultimately, that's who we're fighting. I mean, the Matrix it's a beautiful documentary, Terminator, Odyssey 2001. And it galls me that there are people within our community that you go, that you are kind of on a panel with at these conventions or conferences, and they are pro the ethical development of AI. And it's just, well, what about the organic, ascension? What about the innate software that we all have that is untapped potential laying dormant within 96% of our genetic material? And they forget about that. It's like, people don't understand that the reason why there are fallen races, and the reason why there are interstellar civilizations that are literally, taking over underdeveloped worlds, is because they fail to evolve spiritually, and they become too technologically driven, which in a way compels them to develop artificial intelligence as a way to, become more productive, right? And so that's the reason why many races fail in the cosmos, and why they become big bullies, because when they don't activate and use the inner technology, they become codependent on external technology. And external technology means harnessing and harboring the elements, the resources of your planet. So what happens when you exhaust those? Then you move on to the next solar system and you do the same, and you move on to the next. So it's like an endless game of just using out resources, because of the fact that they were never able to activate the inner technology, which is connected to the unified field, which is also what they call 0 point energy, and it's self-generating power. At that point, once we connect with the inner technology, um, we don't have to exhaust any resources. We only exhaust the resources when we depend on external technology, because the inner technology is already connected with the 0 point field, by the way. And that explains our Merkaba, our body of light that is also shaped as a toroidal field, right? Like this, right? That's the way energy works. It's like a funnel. It's spinning through the antakrana, the chakras, which connect us to the different levels of reality, all the way to the galactic core, right? And then beyond that, all the way to the central sun of our local universe. That's why we have outer chakras, because those are centers of consciousness that connect us to every level of the cosmos. So that's another validation that we're all interconnected with everything. And so, the whole point is we have positive races that use the internal technology. They connect with the bio living elements, and even their spaceships are living bio entities where they interfuse consciously, and that's how they navigate their ships. It's almost like they're in a symbiotic relationship with their craft when they go from solar system to solar system. Whereas the non-spiritual races, they don't use the eternal technology. They don't interface with their craft. They literally built the craft from elements, and it's raw, dead material. There is no it's a technology, rather. They have to press buttons and gadgets in order to make the craft active, turn on and go in a specific direction.
And that's why they want to come here. And I had a memory when I was maybe 30 years old, and of maybe a gray coming into my room or something. And I remember saying to them, because I've always had fertility issues ever since I was like very young, and really bad, was never able to have children. And I remember just going, don't, you don't need to worry about me because I'm infertile. And they were like, oh, okay. And they left. And that was just something that came into me to tell them that, because they are coming in to harvest all this wonderful information that we have, because they have killed off their own DNA, correct?
Yes. Yeah, and they're a perfect example of what would happen to us, thousands of years from now, if we take the path of the transhumanist agenda.
Yeah.
And because, the Greys used to be human millions of years ago. They come from planet Apex, which is part of the Lyran system. In fact, several humans that started off in Lyra millions of years ago have degenerated into little gray entities because, they resorted to not procreating naturally like we're supposed to.
So I call it our soul spark, but so would our soul have an origination of another planet? Almost everybody. So I was told, or I believe that I've been potentially from Sirius, and I don't know if I was also told that a lot of people from Sirius, they have a certain look about them or their eye color or anything like that. People find that fascinating. Is that true, or is there really no meaning to that, because we're in this physical form connected to what we were many lifetimes ago or whatever?
Well, our physical form is an expression of our spirit, of who we are in essence, which is the living fire that burns within all of us. And that's what we all are. That's why in the esoteric knowledge, we're all different sparks of the always consuming eternal fire, which is represented by the great central suns of everything that is, And so, yes, we all have a particular star system that we originated in when we first came into existence into this universe. But also bear in mind that our original inception was eternal. We are part of an eternal region of reality where everything had no beginning or end, where nothing had beginning or end. And so we descended from eternity in order to explore lower densities, different energy fields, different planes of reality. That in each plane you have your challenges and you have your hurdles. But the lower you go into the planes of reality, the harder it becomes. So that's why right now the 3D reality is the hardest density to ever explore. And let me tell you this is where we have the advantage over all the aliens out there. They don't have the opportunity to experience the lowest density like we do. So our exaltation, our ascension is going to be greater than every other being that has ever existed, because they never had an opportunity to be at a third density, to explore the challenges that comes with being in 3 dimension. So in essence, we are eternal beings of light. That's where we originated. We didn't have a beginning point and an end. We came from eternity, and the only reason it seems like we have an alpha and omega, or that we live in a what we call a finite universe, is because that's part of the simulation that we're in.
Yeah.
And so only while we're in these bodies, which interface with, of course, the tetrahedrons, which are the smallest scale of reality, which are what they call the pixelations that hold together the third realm, right? It's all being pixelated. I mean, the simulation theory has been proven by so many scientists out there. But yeah, that's the only reason why we're experiencing this realm, is because we're interfacing through this body. This body is just an avatar. But Gina, what if I tell you that our consciousness is so vast that while we are here in this avatar, shut from the rest of our consciousness, the other part of our consciousness, which is the other 98%, is experiencing other realities and other timelines on different bodies simultaneously with this one here in the third dimension. And that's
I
how
believe
powerful.
that. I mean, and that's sort of why when you have moments once in a while when you meet someone and you just kind of, it literally feels like a magnet. I mean, whether it's a soulmate or, people talk about that, but there's some kind of connection with that. I guess where I'm going is, what about soul groups? Is that a true thing too? Do we sometimes cycle together and fight together and work together and have, things like that?
Yes, because we're all part of the same oversoul.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the oversoul starts off in the 12D, and then it just fragments as it goes all the way down the dimensions or the densities. And by the time it hits the 3D, it's like 144 people, 144 individuated units of consciousness. But as we undergo ascension, we become, part of a bigger, what they call a social memory complex. We become part of a bigger body, while maintaining our individual soul. So that explains why we're attracted to certain people, why we vibe with certain people. There's a saying that says you're attracting your soul tribe by the energy you exert in the person you are, right? Like attracts like. And that explains why the soul tribe, especially the star people, which are the indigo people, you're one of them, I'm one of them. I mean, they're all the way up until their 80s, right? The first wave came in the 40s. That's why the star people are like just gathering worldwide. They're kind of working together. It's almost like they're coming together as one team, and that's what's happening right now. And I strongly believe that has a lot to do with the 144,000 as prophesied about in all these different texts. When they talk about the 144,000, the elect, the people that are going to like usher in a new age, defeat the darkness.
Yeah.
That's what we are. That's what all the 70 plus million indigo light warriors that are on the earth in human form, star people. That's what we are.
And we have to, like you said, we have will and we make choices and we can go down a dark road. And when we start to really unpack ourselves and see the beauty of our individuality and of our consciousness, naturally, we want to care about ourselves more. We want to, what we ingest content wise, people wise, we start to flourish. And then like you were saying, the drop of water, everything around us starts to kind of, like you said, like versus like, and all of a sudden now your pool is a little healthier, is a little, and so when you're, say if you, like with me who had dealt with suicidal ideation when I was younger, that completely fell off because every day I wake up just in this, and I'm happy that I found that, but that was my journey. But that's what I'm trying to communicate to people is that are suffering in this lower vibration. I would say I was at a lower vibration at that time. I had to do the work to find myself. So how do we get to this potential ascension or energy to bring us to like the new age of Aquarius or something? So
Well,
I don't know where to go for that.
Well,
Sorry.
Despite the challenges and despite all the hurdles that we go through, because it's hard to be different in this planet. Every starseed that I talk to out there tells me that they've always been the black sheep in their family, that they've always had a difficulty fitting in school. Some of them were loners because people just didn't get them. They didn't understand them. So it's not easy to come in from a higher level of reality into lower density and try to adapt. When you're so used to being telepathic, when you're so used to being multidimensional, when you're so used to transversing and going from one plane of reality to the next freely, it is probably why, I'm sorry to say this, it is probably why a lot of star people now, because a lot of us are in our adult years, have suicidal tendencies.
Absolutely. That's kind of what I was getting towards.
That's, I'm no exception. I tried killing myself 3 times when I was 16 because I was always picked on. High school for me was the worst. They say it's supposed to be the best years of your life. It was living hell for me, but that's just because I was different. Nobody really understood me. So that's why they'd rather just pick on something that is, that is understandable, I guess, in their eyes.
Yeah. Yes. And I really appreciate your messages and, helping us to raise our consciousness. And, there's a lot of serious, there's a lot of serious overtones happening right now. And so each time we have an ability to communicate at this level is really important.
Mm-hmm.
What can people do now with this information kind of moving forward? What is sort of the timeline of we're talking about about Ascension, and what can they do to ensure that they're kind of on the other side of the positive forces?
The best thing to do right now, because there will be a timeline split, a splitting of worlds, not physically, vibrationally. And so wherever you are vibrating, depending on what you choose to believe, because your beliefs, believe it or not, have a lot to say in what you experience in life. We create our reality technically through our subconscious beliefs, by the way. So that's why I believe in rewiring your brain and stuff, neuroplasticity and all that stuff, because it's very important that we learn how to really much restructure our fundamental belief systems at a subconscious level, because that's what attracts reality. So the first thing you have to become aware of is that we are living in a matrix, and that through the agencies of your thoughts and emotions, you are co-creating your reality, whether you know it or not. The second thing you have to do is you have to establish some sort of spiritual connection with the divine, whether you call it God, the higher power, source, whatever it is, on a daily basis. And then the third thing you have to do is take care of your body, your temple. Make sure you're eating organic. Make sure you're taking moringa, supplements like superfoods, like turmeric, stuff like that. I take the reishi mushrooms, the cordyceps, the turkey tail. I take all those powders and chlorella, spirulina. Make sure you're treating your body like a temple. And then the fourth thing you have to do, and this is where our powers are going to come into play, is build a relationship with the natural elements, the natural forces of the earth. In other words, spend time in nature as much as possible, whether it's a river, creek, whether it's a mountain, a valley, an ocean, a river, a lake, or even just a park. Just go and just be in that natural, surrounding yourself with beautiful energy. The elements, wherever there are plants and greenery, there are elementals. The fairies are real. The fae are coming back. A lot of star people are starting to communicate with the fae. All right. The fae are part of the 6th creation. In my book, I explain how we're part of the 12th creation. There were like 11 other creations prior. But the whole point is establish some sort of relationship consciously with the living elements. So if you guys could do all that, you guys are going to definitely ascend in the organic timeline.
I have a real connection to animals, and I just want to know a little bit about. Obviously, they're all, higher beings. What can you tell us just a little bit about animals and how they're here with us, and where did they come from originally?
Well, the animals here on this planet were planted here by us, our ancestors, which were 12-dimensional, super conscious, angelic humans with physical forms, but operating on different realities at the same time. So that explains why we have the greatest diversity in plant life, fauna, and animal life in the entire cosmos, because the animals here represent the diversity of animals that exist throughout the many universes, all in one spot, which makes the Earth a living cosmic library. And that has been proven by many whistleblowers, many contactees, Barbara Marciniak talked about that in her book. Barbara Handclough talks about that. The whole point is that, yes, the animals are also conscious beings at the lower level of 3 dimension, right? Where they begin to understand themselves as individuals, because the animal consciousness graduates from the plant kingdom, where the plant kingdom, you're in a consciousness state of reality existing in the 2nd dimension. So that's where these dimensions come into play. So the animals they play a big role in the upward evolution of consciousness that starts off in the 1 dimension, which is like the element of a fire, or the spirit of a fire, the spirit of the undying, which is the water, or the spirit of the salamander, which live in trees, or the spirit of the gnome, or the spirit of the, you know what I mean? So consciousness is always evolving upwards. So that's where the animal kingdom comes into play. They are the kingdom right before the human kingdom. And of course, after the human kingdom, you have the angelic kingdom. So we come from the angelic kingdom. The souls that occupy animal bodies come from the mineral kingdom, and they were ascending upward into the plant kingdom and are now in the animal kingdom. But soon the souls in those animals also graduate into the human kingdom. So that's how life works.
Oh, wow. I love animals so much, and I'm so glad, it's so nice to hear how they came here. That's amazing. Well, that's pretty much what we have time for today. Would you like to leave us out on any type of final message, meditation, or guidance, or anything that you want to kind of people can listen to collect some higher vibrational energy as we leave today?
Sure. Due to the fact that I do have to go, otherwise I would do a little meditation, but I will leave everyone with a few words of wisdom. Never give your power to anything external. All the answers that you've always wanted and everything that you need is within you. And the only way to access it is through daily meditation. It is powerful to meditate, guys. Cultivate that spiritual, a higher consciousness connection through meditation. And yeah, never depend on anything or anyone to dictate your own life path, because each and every single one of you guys is born with a key, is born with a purpose, and everyone has a piece of the pie. And the beauty of it all is when we all come together with our own keys and all our little individual pieces and put it together in one harmonious, cooperative whole. And that's what's gonna birth the new earth, is that we're going to go from a reality of competitiveness to a reality of cooperation, by understanding that we are all brothers and sisters, and that there is no inferior or superior, that we are all equal in the eyes of the one infinite creator. And so yeah, just never stop believing in yourself. Never, no matter what others say, always believe and follow your dreams, always. And I guarantee you guys will achieve anything at greatness. You guys all achieve greatness. Now, with that have said, you guys could find me on our cosmicorigin.com. I could give you my link where you could access my YouTube channel, The Real Ismael Perez. I have a lot of pirated channels that are pretending to be me in all my social media platforms. And then, of course, through my website, if you go to the A for Amazon, you could order the new edition of my book and allow the galactic and cosmic tale unfold for those that haven't read it.
And we'll link everything below so everybody can find it easily. Thank you so much for your time today, Ismael. I've been looking forward to this for a long time. It's great to be in your presence. Get the books. You're going to want to learn a lot about all these different levels of the 12th level and down and what they all mean. I believe they're all in the book. And thank you so much. And best wishes, everybody. This has been the Liberated Healer podcast. And thank you for all your support, likes, shares, and subscribes. Thank you.
May the God force be with you all.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
Okay.